to do that. It's amazing.
Yeah, our whole classroom used to do that.
And howdy, everybody. Happy Sabbath, and welcome to the Word number 212. Why did the numbers change? Because we went back to the regular Word, not the praise and wisdom portion. Howdy, Lynn.
Hi.
Howdy, Glenn. How is everybody?
Pretty good.
Estamos muy bueno. Okay, anyways.
Yes.
Today we are continuing in the book of Jasher. If you want to read it and study it on your own, you can find it here, or you can go to your local bookstore and order a copy, because they probably won't have it. That we're going on in Jasher, chapter 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And after we pray in, we'll have Glenna start off, and then Lynn and I will leapfrog. And then hopefully Glenna can get back. She's having a battery issue. So let's go ahead and pray in. Father, thank you very much for giving us this day of rest. We're very happy to be able to have this communion and fellowship with our brothers and sisters that have been called to be your children through your Son, Jesus Christ, Yeshua Messiah. And we just thank you for that. We ask for your spirit of discernment to be poured out on everybody here now and in the future, that they get the message that you need us to get. And we're very grateful. We love you in Jesus, Yeshua's name. Amen. All right. Let's go ahead and put Glenna on Front Street. Jasher,
Okay.
chapter 6.
At that time, after the death of Methuselah, the Lord said to Noah, "Go thou with thy household into the ark. Behold, I will gather thee all the animals of the earth, the beasts of the field, and the fowls of the air, and they shall come and surround the ark. And thou shalt go and seat thyself by the doors of the ark, and all the beasts, the animals, and the fowls shall assemble and place themselves before thee. And such of them as shall come and crouch before thee, thou shalt take and deliver into the hands of thy sons, who shall bring them into the ark, and all that will stand before thee shalt thou leave." And the Lord brought this about on the next day. And animals, beasts, and fowls came in great multitudes and surrounded the ark. And Noah went and seated himself by the door of the ark, and of all the flesh that crouched before him he brought into the ark, and all that stood before him he left upon the earth. And a lioness came with her two whelps, male and female, and the three crouched before Noah. And the two whelps rose up against the lioness and smote her, and made her flee from her place. And she went away, and they returned to their places and crouched upon the earth before Noah. And the lioness ran away and stood in the place of the lions. And Noah saw this and wondered greatly, and he rose and took the two whelps and brought them into the ark. And Noah brought into the ark from all living creatures that were upon the earth, so that there was none left but which Noah brought into the ark. 2 and 2 came to Noah into the ark, but from the clean animals and clean fowls he brought 7 couples, as God had commanded him. And all the animals and beasts and fowls were still there, and they surrounded the ark at every place. And the rain had not descended till 7 days after. And on that day the Lord caused the whole earth to shake, and the sun darkened, and the foundations of the world raged, and the whole earth was moved violently, and the lightning flashed, and the thunder roared, and all the fountains in the earth were broken up, such as was not known to the inhabitants before. And God did this mighty act in order to terrify the sons of men, that there might be no more evil upon the earth. And still the sons of men would not return from their evil ways, and they increased the anger of the Lord at that time and did not even direct their hearts to all this. And at the end of 7 days, in the 600th year of the life of Noah, the waters of the flood were upon the earth. And all the fountains of the deep were broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened. And the rain was upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. And Noah and his household and all the living creatures that were with him came into the ark on account of the waters of the flood, and the Lord shut him in. And all the sons of men that were left upon the earth became exhausted through evil on account of the rain, for the waters were coming more violently upon the earth, and the animals and beasts were still surrounding the ark. And the sons of men assembled together, about 700,000 men and women, and they came unto Noah to the ark. And they called to Noah, saying, Open for us, that we may come to thee in the ark. And wherefore shall we die? And Noah with a loud voice answered them from the ark, saying, Have you not all rebelled against the Lord, and said that he does not exist? And therefore the Lord brought upon you this evil to destroy and cut you off from the face of the earth. Is not this the thing that I spoke to you of 120 years back? And you would not hearken to the voice of the Lord? And now do you desire to live upon the earth? And they said to Noah, We are ready to return to the Lord. Only open up for us so that we may live and not die. And Noah answered them, saying, Behold, now that you see the trouble of your souls, you wish to return to the Lord. Why did you not return during these 120 years, which the Lord granted you as the determined period? But now you come and tell me this on account of the troubles of your souls. Now also the Lord will not listen to you, neither will he give ear to you on this day, so that you will not now succeed in your wishes. And the sons of men approached in order to break into the ark, to come in on account of the rain, for they could not bear the rain upon them. And the Lord sent all the beasts and animals that stood round the ark, and the beast overpowered them, and drove them from that place. And every man went his way, and they again scattered themselves upon the face of the earth. And the rain was still descending upon the earth, and it descended 40 days and 40 nights. And the waters prevailed greatly upon the earth, and all flesh that was upon the earth or in the waters died, whether men, animals, beasts, creeping things, or birds of the air. And there only remained Noah and those that were with him in the ark. And the waters prevailed, and they greatly increased upon the earth, and they lifted up the ark, and it was raised from the earth. And the ark floated upon the face of the waters, and it was tossed upon the waters, so that all the living creatures within were turned about like pottage in a cauldron. And great anxiety seized all the living creatures that were in the ark, and the ark was like to be broken. And all the living creatures that were in the ark were terrified, and the lions roared, and the oxen lowed, and the wolves howled, and every living creature in the ark spoke and lamented in its own language, so that their voices reached to a great distance. And Noah and his sons cried and wept in their troubles. They were greatly afraid that they had reached the gates of death. And Noah prayed unto the Lord and cried unto him on account of this. And he said, O Lord, help us, for we have no strength to bear this evil that has encompassed us. For the waves of the waters have surrounded us. Mischievous torrents have terrified us. The snares of death have come before us. Answer us, O Lord, answer us. Light up thy countenance toward us and be gracious to us. Redeem us and deliver us. And the Lord hearkened to the voice of Noah, and the Lord remembered him. And a wind passed over the earth, and the waters were still, and the ark rested. And the fountains of the deep and the windows of heaven were stopped, and the rain from heaven was restrained. And the waters decreased in those days, and the ark rested upon the mountains of Ararat. And Noah then opened the windows of the ark, and Noah still called out to the Lord at that time, and he said, O Lord, who didst form the earth and the heavens and all that are therein, bring forth our souls from this confinement and from the prison wherein thou hast placed us, for I am much wearied with sighing. And the Lord hearkened to the voice of Noah and said to him, When thou shalt have completed a full year, thou shalt then go forth. And at the revolution of the year, when a full year was completed to Noah's dwelling in the ark, The waters were dried off from the earth, and Noah put off the covering of the ark. At that time, on the 27th day of the second month, the earth was dry, but Noah and his sons and those that were with him did not go out from the ark until the Lord told them. And the day came that the Lord told them to go out, and they all went out from the ark. And they went and returned every one to his way and to his place. And Noah and his sons dwelt in the land that God had told them. And they served the Lord all their days. And the Lord blessed Noah and his sons on their going out from the ark. And he said to them, be fruitful and fill all the earth, become strong and increase abundantly in the earth, and multiply therein.
Jasher chapter 7. And these are the names of the sons of Noah, Japheth, Ham, and Shem, and children were born to them after the flood, for they had taken wives before the flood. These are the sons of Japheth, Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshach, and Tiras, 7 sons. And the sons of Gomer were Ashkenaz, Rephath, and Tegarma. And the sons of Magog were Elikhaneph and Lubal. And the sons of Madai were Achan, Zelo, Chazoni, and Lot. And the sons of Javan were Elisha, Tarshish, Chittim, and Dudanim. And the sons of Tubal were Araphi, Kesed, and Taari. The sons of Meshach were Dedan, Zeron, and Shabashni. And the sons of Tiras were Benib, Gera, Lupirion, and Gilak. These are the sons of Japheth according to their families, and their numbers in those days were about 460 men. And these are the sons of Ham, Cush, Mitzrayim, Phut, Canaan, 4 sons. And the sons of Cush were Seba, Havilah, Sabta, Rama, Satecha. And the sons of Ramah were Sheba and Dedan. And the sons of Mitzrayim were Lud, Enam, Pathros, Kasloth, and Haftor. And the sons of Put were Gabal, Haran, Benah, and Aden. And the sons of Canaan were Zidon, Heth, Amorai, Girgashi, Hivai, Arki, Sinai, Arodai, Zamodi, and Chamothi. These are the sons of Ham according to their families, and their numbers in those days were about 730 men. And these are the sons of Shem, Elam, Asher, Arpachshad, Lud, and Aram, 5 sons. And the sons of Elam were Shushan, Machul, and Harmon. And the sons of Ashar were Miras, Mokil, and the sons of Arpachshad were Shelach, Anar, and Askol. And the sons of Lud were Pethor, Bezayon, and the sons of Aram were Uz, Kul, Gather, and Mash. These are the sons of Shem according to their families, and their numbers in those days were about 300 men. These are the generations of Shem. Shem begat Arpachshad. Arpachshad begat Shelach. Shelach begat Eber. And to Eber were born 2 children. The name of one was Peleg, for in his days the sons of men were divided, and in the latter days the earth was divided. And the name of the second was Yoktan, meaning that in his day the lives of the son of men were diminished and lessened. These are the sons of Yoktan, Almadad, Shelaph, Chazarmaveth, Yerak, Harduram, Ozel, Dikla, Obal, Abimiel, Sheba, Ophir, Havilah, and Jobab. All these are the sons of Yoktan. And Peleg, his brother, begat Yen, and Yen begat Serug, and Serug begat Nahor, and Nahor begat Terah, and Terah was 38 years old when he begat Haran and Nahor. And Cush, the son of Ham, the son of Noah, took a wife in those days in his old age, and she bare a son, and they called his name Nimrod, saying, at that time the sons of men again began to rebel and transgress against God. And the child grew up, and his father loved him exceedingly, for he was the son of his old age. And the garments of skin which God had made for Adam and his wife, when they went out of the garden, were given to Cush. For after the death of Adam and his wife, the garments were given to Enoch, the son of Jared. And when Enoch, the son of I'm sorry. And then when Enoch was taken up to God, he gave them to Methuselah, his son. And at the death of Methuselah, Noah took them and brought them to the ark. And they were with him until he went out of the ark. And in their going out, Ham stole those garments from Noah his father, and he took them and hid them from his brothers. And when Ham begat his firstborn Cush, he gave him the garments in secret, and they were with Cush many days. And Cush also concealed them from his sons and brothers. And when Cush had begotten Nimrod, he gave those garments through his love for him. And Nimrod grew up, and when he was 20 years old, he put on those garments. And Nimrod became strong when he put on the garments, and God gave him might and strength, and he was a mighty hunter in the earth. Yea, he was a mighty hunter in the field, and he hunted the animals, and he built altars, and he offered upon them the animals before the Lord. And Nimrod strengthened himself, and he rose up from among his brethren, and he fought the battles of his brethren against all their enemies round about. And the Lord delivered all the enemies of his brethren in his hands. And God prospered him from time to time in his battles, and he reigned upon earth. Therefore, it became current in those days when a man ushered forth those that he had trained up for battle, he would say to them, like God did to Nimrod, who was a mighty hunter in the earth, and who succeeded in the battles that prevailed against his brethren, that he delivered them from the hands of their enemies. So may God strengthen us and deliver us this day. And when Nimrod was 40 years old, at that time there was war between his brethren and the children of Japheth, so that they were in the power of their enemies. And Nimrod went forth at that time, and he assembled all the sons of Cush and their families, about 460 men. And he hired also from some of his friends and acquaintances about 80 men, and he gave them their hire, and he went with them to battle. And when he was on the road, Nimrod strengthened the hearts of the people that went with him. And he said to them, do not fear, neither be alarmed, for all our enemies will be delivered into our hands, and you may do with them as you please. And all the men that went were about 500, and they fought against their enemies, and they destroyed them and subdued them. And Nimrod placed standing officers over them in their respective places. And he took some of their children as security, and they were all servants to Nimrod and to his brethren. And Nimrod and all the people that were with him turned homeward. And when Nimrod had joyfully returned from battle, after having conquered his enemies, all his brethren, together with those who knew him before, assembled to make him king over them, and they placed the regal crown upon his head. And he set over his subjects and people, princes, judges, and rulers, as is the custom amongst kings. And he placed Terah, the son of Nahor, the prince of his host, and he dignified him and elevated him above all his princes. And whilst he was reigning according to his heart's desire, after having conquered all his enemies around, he advised with his counselors to build a city for his palace, and they did so. And they found a large valley opposite to the east, and they built him a large and extensive city. And Nimrod called the name of the city that he built Shinar, for the Lord had vehemently shaken his enemies and destroyed them. And Nimrod dwelt in Shinar, and he reigned securely, and he fought with his enemies, and he subdued them. And he prospered in all his battles, and his kingdom became very great. And all nations and tongues heard of his fame, and they gathered themselves to him, and they bowed down to the earth, and they brought him offerings. And he became their Lord and King, and they all dwelt with him in the city at Shinar. And Nimrod reigned over the earth with over all the sons of Noah, and they were all under his power and counsel. And all the earth was of one tongue and words of union. But Nimrod did not go in the ways of the Lord, and he was more wicked than all the men that were before him, from the days of the flood until those days. And he made gods of wood and stone, and he bowed down to them, and he rebelled against the Lord, and taught all his subjects and the people of the earth his wicked ways. And Mardon, his son, was more wicked than his father. And everyone that heard of the acts of Mardon, the son of Nimrod, would say concerning him, from the wicked goeth forth wickedness. Therefore it became a proverb in the whole earth, saying, From the wicked goeth forth wickedness, and it was current in the words of men from that time to this. And Terah, the son of Nahor, prince of Nimrod's host, was in those days very great in the sight of the king and his subjects. And the king and princes loved him, and they elevated him very high. And Terah took a wife, and her name was Amthalo, the daughter of Cornebo. And the wife of Terah conceived and bare him a son in those days. Terah was 70 years old when he begat him, and Terah called the name of his son that was born to him Abram, because the king had raised him in those days and dignified him above all his princes that were with him.
Okay, chapter 8. And it was in the night that Abram was born, that all the servants of Terah and all the wise men of Nimrod and his conquerors came and ate and drank in the house of Terah, and they rejoiced with him on that night. And when all the wise men and conjurers went out from the house of Terah, they lifted up their eyes towards heaven that night to look at the stars. And they saw, and behold, one very large star came from the east and ran in the heavens, and he swallowed up the 4 stars from the 4 sides of the heavens. And all the wise men of the king and his conjurers were astonished at the sight. And the sages understood this matter, and they knew its import. And they said to each other, this only betokens the child that has been born to Terah this night, who will grow up and be fruitful and multiply and possess all the earth, he and his children forever. And he and his seed will slay great kings and inherit their lands. And the wise men and conjurers went home that night. And in the morning, all these wise men and conjurers rose up early and assembled in an appointed house. And they spoke and said to each other, behold, the sight that we saw last night is hidden from the king. It has not been made known to him. And should this thing get known to the king in the latter days, he will say to us, why have you concealed this matter from me? And then we shall suffer death. Therefore, now let us go and tell the king the sight which we saw and the interpretation thereof, and we shall remain clear. And they did so. And they all went to the king and bowed down to him to the ground. And they said, may the king live, may the king live. We heard that a son was born to Terah, the son of Nahor, the prince of thy host. And we yesternight came to his house, and we ate and drank and rejoiced with him that night. And when the servants went out from the house of Terah to go to our respective homes to abide there for the night, we lifted up our eyes to heaven, and we saw a great star coming from the east. And the same star ran with great speed and swallowed up 4 great stars from the 4 sides of the heavens. And thy servants were astonished at the sight which we saw, and were greatly terrified. And we made our judgment upon the sight, and knew by our wisdom the proper interpretation thereof. And that this thing applies to the child that is born to Terah, who will grow up and multiply greatly, and become powerful, and kill all the kings of the earth, and inherit all their lands, he and his seed forever. And now, our Lord and King, behold, we have truly acquainted thee with what we have seen concerning this child. If it seemeth good to the king to give his father value for this child, we will slay him before he shall grow up and increase in the land, and his evil increase against us, that we and our children perish through his evil. And the king heard their words, and they seemed good in his sight. And he sent and called for Terah, and Terah came before the king. And the king said to Terah, I have been told that a son was yesternight born to thee, and after this manner was observed in the heavens at his birth. And now therefore give me the child, that we may slay him before his evil springs up against us, and I will give thee for his value thy house full of silver and gold. And Terah answered the king and said to him, my lord and king, I have heard thy words, and thy servants shall do all that this king desireth. But my lord and king, I will tell thee what happened to me yesternight, that I may see what advice the king will give his servant. Then I will answer the king upon what he has just spoken. And the king said, speak. And Terah said to the king, Ayan, the son of Mored, came to me last night, saying, give unto me the great and beautiful horse that the king gave thee, and I will give thee silver and gold and straw and provender for its value. And I said to him, wait till I see the king concerning thy words, and behold, whatever the king saith, that will I do. And now, my lord and king, behold, I have made this thing known to thee, and the advice which my king will give unto his servant, that will I follow. And the king heard the words of Terah, and his anger was kindled, and he considered him in the light of a fool. And the king answered Terah, and he said to him, Art thou so silly, ignorant, or deficient in understanding to do this thing, to give thy beautiful horse for silver and gold, or even for straw and provender? Art thou so short of silver and gold that thou shouldst do this thing? Because thou canst not obtain straw and provender to feed thy horse? And what is silver and gold to thee, or straw and provender, that thou shouldst give away that fine horse which I gave thee, like which there is none to be had on the whole earth? And the king left off speaking. And Terah answered the king, saying, Like unto this has the king spoken to his servant. I beseech thee, my lord and king, what is this which thou didst say to me, saying, Give thy son, that we may slay him, and I will give thee silver and gold for his value. What shall I do with silver and gold at the death of my son? Who shall inherit me? Surely then at my death the silver and gold will return to my king who gave it. And when the king heard the words of Terah, the parable which he brought concerning the king, it grieved him greatly, and he was vexed at this thing, as anger burned within him. And Terah saw that the anger of the king was kindled against him, and he answered the king, saying, All that I have is in the king's power. Whatever the king desireth to do to his servant, and let him do, yea, even my son, he is in the king's power, without value in exchange, he and his 2 brothers that are older than he. And the king said to Terah, No, but I will purchase thy younger for a price. And Terah answered the king, saying, I beseech thee, my lord and king, to let thy servant speak a word before thee, and let the king hear the word of his servant. And Terah said, Let my king give me the 3 days' time. I will consider this matter within myself, and consult with my family concerning the words of my king. And he pressed the king greatly to agree to this. And the king hearkened to Terah, and he did so. And he gave him 3 days' time. And Terah went out from the king's presence, and he came home to his family, and spoke to them all the words of the king. And the people were greatly afraid. And it was in the 3rd day that the king sent to Terah, saying, Send me thy son for a price, as I spoke to thee. And shouldest thou not do this, I will send and slay all thou hast in thy house, so that thou shalt not even have a dog remaining. And Terah hastened, as the thing was urgent from the king. And he took a child from one of his servants, which his handmaid had borne to him that day. And Terah brought the child to the king, and received value for him. And the Lord was with Terah in this matter, that Nimrod might not cause Abram's death. And the king took the child from Terah, and with all his might dashed his head to the ground, for he thought it had been Abram. And this was concealed from him from that day, and it was forgotten by the king, as it was the time of providence not to suffer Abram's death. And Terah took Abram his son secretly, together with his mother and nurse, and he concealed them in a cave, and brought them their provisions monthly. And the Lord was with Abram in the cave, and he grew up. And Abram was in the cave 10 years. And the king and his princes, soothsayers and sages, thought that the king had killed Abram.
Okay. Well,
You're muted.
Not anymore.
okay.
And Haran, the son of Terah, Abram's oldest brother, took a wife in those days. Haran was 39 years old when he took her, and the wife of Haran conceived and bare a son, and he called his name Lot. And she conceived again and bare a daughter, and she called her name Milcah. And she again conceived and bare a daughter. She called her name Sarai. Haran was 42 years old when he begat Sarai, which was in the 10th year of the life of Abram. And in those days, Abram and his mother and nurse went out from the cave, as the king and his subjects had forgotten the affair of Abram. And when Abram came out from the cave, he went to Noah and his son Shem. And he remained with them to learn instruction of the Lord and his ways. And no man knew where Abram was. And Abram served Noah and Shem, his son, for a long time. And Abram was in Noah's house 39 years. And Abram knew the Lord from 3 years old. And he went in the ways of the Lord until the day of his death, as Noah and his son Shem had taught him. And all the sons of the earth in those days greatly transgressed against the Lord, and they rebelled against him, and they served other gods, and they forgot the Lord, who had created them in the earth. And the inhabitants of the earth made unto themselves at that time every man his god, gods of wood and stone, which could neither speak, hear, nor deliver. And the sons of men served them, and they became their gods. And the king and all his servants And Terah, with all his household, were then the first of those that served gods of wood and stone. And Terah had 12 gods of large size, made of wood and stone, after the 12 months of the year. And he served each one monthly, and every month Terah would bring his meat offering and drink offering to his gods. Thus did Terah all the days. And all that generation were wicked in the sight of the Lord. And they thus made every man his god, but they forsook the Lord who had created them. And there was not a man found in those days in the whole earth who knew the Lord, for they served each man his own god, except Noah and his household, and all those who were under his counsel knew the Lord in those days. And Abram, the son of Terah, was waxing great in those days in the house of Noah, and no man knew it. And the Lord was with him. And the Lord gave Abram an understanding heart, and he knew all the works of that generation were vain, and that all their gods were vain and were of no avail. And Abram saw the sun shining upon the earth, and Abram said unto himself, Surely now this sun that shines upon the earth is God, and him will I serve. And Abram served the sun in that day, and he prayed to him. And when the evening came, the sun set as usual, and Abram said within himself, Surely this cannot be God. And Abram still continued to speak within himself, Who is he who made the heavens and the earth? Who created upon the earth? Where is he? And night darkened over him, and he lifted up his eyes toward the west, north, south, and east, and he saw that the sun had vanished from the earth, and the day became dark. And Abram saw the stars and moon before him, and he said, Surely this is the God who created the whole earth as well as man. And behold, these his servants are gods around him. And Abram served the moon and prayed to it all that night. And in the morning, when it was light and the sun rose up, and the sun shone upon the earth as usual, Abram saw all the things that the Lord God had made upon earth. And Abram said unto himself, Surely these are not gods that made the earth and all mankind, but these are the servants of God. And Abram remained in the house of Noah, and there knew the Lord and his ways, and he served the Lord all the days of his life. And all that generation forgot the Lord, and served other gods of wood and stone, and rebelled all their days. And King Nimrod reigned securely, and all the earth was under his control. And all the earth was of one tongue and words of union. And all the princes of Nimrod and his great men took counsel together, Put, Mitzrayim, Cush, and Canaan with their families, and they said to each other, Come, let us build ourselves a city, and in it a strong tower, and its top reaching heaven. And we will make ourselves famed, so that we may reign upon the whole earth, in order that the evil of our enemies may cease from us, that we may reign mightily over them, and that we may not become scattered over the earth on account of their ways. And they all went before the king, and they told the king these words. And the king agreed with them in this affair, and he did so. And all the families assembled, consisting of about 600,000 men, and they went to seek an extensive piece of ground to build the city and the tower. And they sought in the whole earth, and they found none like one valley at the east of the land of Shinar, about 2 days' walk, and they journeyed there, and they dwelt there. And they began to make bricks and burn fires to build the city and the tower that they had imagined to complete. And the building of the tower was unto them a transgression and a sin, and they began to build it. And whilst they were building against the Lord God of heaven, they imagined in their hearts to war against him and to ascend into heaven. And all these people and all the families divided themselves in 3 parts. The first said, We will ascend into heaven and fight against him. The second said, We will ascend to heaven and place our own gods there and serve them. And the third part said, We will ascend to heaven and smite him with bows and spears. And God knew all their works and all their evil thoughts. And he saw the city and the tower which they were building. And when they were building, they built themselves a great city and a very high and strong tower. And on account of its height, the mortar and bricks did not reach the builders in their ascent to it, until those who went up had completed a full year. And after that, they reached to the builders and gave them the mortar and the bricks. Thus was it done daily. And behold, these ascended and others descended the whole day. And if a brick should fall from their hands and get broken, they would all weep over it. And a man fell and died. None of them would look at him. And the Lord knew their thoughts. And it came to pass when they were building, they cast the arrows toward heaven, and all the arrows fell upon them with blood. And when they saw them, they said to each other, surely we have slain all those that are in heaven. For this was from the Lord in order to cause them to err, and in order to destroy them from off the face of the ground. And they built the tower, and they did this thing daily until many days and years were elapsed. And God said to the 70 angels who stood foremost before him, to those who were near him, saying, come, let us descend and confuse their tongues, that one man shall not understand the language of his neighbor. And they did so unto them. And from that day following, they forgot each man his neighbor's tongue, and they could not understand to speak in one tongue. And when the builder took from the hands of his neighbor lime or stone, which he did not order, the builder would cast it away and throw it upon his neighbor, and he would die. And they did so many days, and they killed many of them in this manner. And the Lord smote the 3 divisions that were there, and he punished them according to their works and designs. Those who said, we will ascend to heaven to serve our gods, became like apes and elephants. Those who said, we will smite the heaven with arrows, the Lord killed them, one man through the hand of his neighbor. And the 3rd division of those who said, we will ascend to heaven and fight against him, the Lord scattered them throughout the earth. And those who were left amongst them, when they knew and understood the evil which was coming upon them, they forsook the building, and they also became scattered upon the face of the whole earth. And they ceased building the city and the tower. Therefore he called that place Babel. For there the Lord confounded the language of the whole earth. Behold, it was east of the land of Shinar. And as the tower which the sons of men built, the earth opened its mouth and swallowed up 1/3 part thereof. And a fire also descended from heaven and burned another third. And the other third is left this day, and it is of that part which was aloft, and its circumference is 3 days' walk. And many of the sons of men died in that tower, a people without number. Are you all charged up, Glenna?
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
Okay.
Chapter 10.
Okay, chapter 10. And Peleg, the son of Eber, died in those days, in the 48th year of the life of Abram, son of Terah, and all the days of Peleg were 239 years. And when the Lord had scattered the sons of men on account of their sin at the tower, behold, they spread forth into many divisions, and all the sons of men were dispersed into the 4 corners of the earth. And all the families became each according to its language, its land, or its city. And the sons of men built many cities according to their families in all the places where they went, and throughout the earth where the Lord had scattered them. And some of them built cities in places from which they were afterward extirpated, and they called these cities after their own names, or the names of their children, or after their particular occurrences. And the sons of Japheth, the son of Noah, went and built themselves cities in the places where they were scattered. And they called all their cities after their names, and the sons of Japheth were divided upon the face of the earth into many divisions and languages. And these are the sons of Japheth according to their families: Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tiras. These are the children of Japheth according to their generations. And the children of Gomer, according to their cities, were the Frankim, who dwell in the land of Franza, by the river Franza, by the river Sanaa. And the children of Rephath are the Bartonon, who dwell in the land of Bartonia, by the river Ledah, which empties its waters into the great sea Gahan, that is, Oceanus. And the children of Tugarma are 10 families, and these are their names: Buzar, Parzunak, Balgar, Elkanam, Ragviv, Tarki, Bede, Zebuk, Ongaw, and Tilmaz. All these spread and rested in the north and built themselves cities. And they called their cities after their own names. Those are they who abide by the rivers Hitlah and Atalak to this day. But the families of Angoli, Balgar, and Parzanak, they dwell by the great river Dubni, and the names of their cities are also according to their own names. And the children of Javan are the Javanim, who dwell in the land of Macedonia, and the children of Madar are the Orelam, that dwell in the land of Curson, and the children of Tubal are those that dwell in the land of Tuscana by the river Pashia. And the children of Meshech are the Shibashni, and the children of Tiras are Rishash, Cushni, and Angolis. All these went and built themselves cities. Those are the cities that are situate by the sea Jabbeth, by the river Kura, which empties itself into the river Trigon. And the children of Elisha are the Amanim, and they also went and built themselves cities, who are the cities situated between the mountains of Job and Shivathamo. And of them were the people of Lombardy, who dwell opposite the mountains of Job and Shivathamo, and they conquered the land of Italia and remained there unto this day. And the children of Kittim are the Romim, who dwell in the valley of Canopia by the river Tibru. And the children of Dudanim are those who dwell in the cities of the sea Gahan in the land of Bordna. These are the families of the children of Japheth according to their cities and languages, when they were scattered after the tower, and they called their cities after their names and occurrences. And these are the names of all their cities according to their families, which they built in those days after the tower. And the children of Ham were Cush, Mitzrayim, Put, and Canaan, according to their generation and cities. All these went and built themselves cities as they found fit places for them. And they called their cities after their names of their fathers, Cush, Mitzrayim, Put, and Canaan. And the children of Mitzrayim are the Ludim, Anamim, Lahabim, Naphtukim, Pashrizim, Kazlukim, and the Caphtorim, 7 families. All these dwell by the river Sihor, that is the brook of Egypt, and they built themselves cities and called them after their own names. And the children of Pathros and Caslach intermarried together, and from them went forth the Pelishtim, the Azathim, and the Gerarim, and the Gittim, and the Ekranim. In all 5 families, these also built themselves cities, and they called their cities after the names of their fathers unto this day. And the children of Canaan also built themselves cities, and they called their cities after their names, 11 cities and others without number. And 4 men from the family of Ham went to the land of the plain. These are the names of the 4 men: Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, and Zeboim. And these men built themselves 4 cities in the land of the plain, and they called the names of their cities after their own names. And they and their children and all belonging to them dwelt in those cities, and they were fruitful and multiplied greatly and dwelt peaceably. And Seir, the son of Hur, son of Hivi, son of Canaan, went and found a valley opposite to Mount Paran, and he built a city there, and he and his 7 sons and his household dwelt there. And he called the city which he built Seir, according to his name, that is the land of Seir, unto this day. These are the families of the children of Ham, according to their languages and cities, when they were scattered into their countries after the tower. And some of the children of Shem, son of Noah, father of all the children of Eber, also went and built themselves cities in the places wherein they were scattered, and they called their cities after their names. And the sons of Shem were Elam, Asher, Arphaxad, Lud, and Aram, and they built themselves cities and called the names after all their cities after their names. And Asher, son of Shem, and his children and household went forth at that time, a very large body of them, and they went to a distant land that they found, and they met with a very extensive valley in the land that they went to. And they built themselves 4 cities, and they called them after their own names and occurrences. And these are the names of the cities which the children of Asher built: Nineveh, Resan, Calach, and Rehoboth. And the children of Asher dwelt there unto this day. And the children of Aram also went and built themselves a city, and they called the name of the city Uz, after their eldest brother, and they dwell therein. That is the land of Uz to this day. And in the 2nd year after the tower, of a man from the house of Asher, whose name was Bela, went from the land of Nineveh to sojourn with his household wherever he could find a place. And they came until the opposite the cities of the plain against Sodom, and they dwelt there. And the man rose up and built there a small city, and called its name Bela, after his name, that is the land of Zoar to this day. And these are the families of the children of Shem, according to their language and cities, after they were scattered upon the earth after the tower. And every kingdom, city, and family of the families of the children of Noah built themselves many cities after this. And they established governments in all their cities in order to be regulated by their orders. So did all the families of the children of Noah forever.
Okay. So back to Jasher chapter 6. I don't have anything really jumping out at me until down in verse 21. So this is the retelling of the loading of the ark and the flood.
Yes.
That, let's see here.
You have a confirmation of those 120 years there.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep. And also, like with the animals, you also have a reconfirmation of knowing that there were clean animals and unclean animals, and that they came in, they took 14 of the clean. And one of the things of people always say, well, how could he fit all those animals? It's because they were taken when they were whelps or young ones.
Well, people like to make that argument, but I honestly don't think many of those people have been on a ship, let alone a ship that size.
Oh, it's huge.
They're huge. Yeah. When I was in the Navy, excuse me. Anyways, when I was in the Navy, I was on an aircraft carrier. So you got all this space dedicated to aircraft, weapons, fuel, people for sleeping, right? And then some extraneous space. And we would do what they call Charlie working party when you had duty days. You had to do duty. And they would just bring truckloads of stuff up to the hangar deck. And then you'd form a chain of people to go to storerooms, and you'd work for 20, 25 minutes just turning like this, passing 25 or 50 pound boxes of cake mix, like all the same flavor. And then after you got done with that, you'd be passing boxes of fruit salad, cans of fruit salad, big gallon cans, just all day, every day.
Yeah. And if you've ever been on a cruise ship,
oh yeah,
you know how big those things are.
Yep. And just think, that's not even space dedicated. That's just dedicated to, hey, let's have fun. And
Yep.
So, all right. Anyways, I don't think they were all whelps, because the only one we're told about is the lioness with her whelps.
Well, did you want them to go and list all of them?
Well,
We'd be here for days.
well, here's the thing, though, right? The way man divides animals isn't the way Abba divides them.
True.
Right. And I'll give you a prime example. When someone says we're echoing. I don't hear it right now, though. Anyways, you remember back in the late 90s, maybe early 2000s, they were saying, oh, the Florida panther is going to go extinct, the Florida panther. And then they show a picture of it, and all the common folk are like, that's just a mountain lion. And they said, no, it's a distinct species, and it's getting ready to go extinct. Well, then they ran out of them. They couldn't find them in the wild anymore. And so what'd they do? They imported mountain lions to breed with the Florida panthers. It's like, but I thought it was a different species. Well, they're close enough. Okay, whatever. And that's just the way they play their game. So there's a lot of species, according to man. Like I would be willing to bet all sheep came from one type of sheep, and all goats came from one type of goat. All horses came from one breed.
All dogs came from wolves. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
No.
Yeah, I don't.
They're
I don't
not
think-
like they're not the kind. No.
What?
There's wolves are wolves, and dogs are dogs.
But they can breed.
They can.
And see, that's what I'm talking about. And if you look at it started under the Soviets, but they're still doing it now. The Fox experiment, where they took, I think it was silver foxes, and all they did was take the kits from each litter and breed the nicest ones with the nicest ones, with the most domestic ones with the most domestic ones. And it was a really short period of time, only like 5 generations or something like that, which for foxes is like, I don't know, 3 years, something, not a very long period of time. Their fur changed color, their eyes changed color. It's just interesting, and I just see it as the stuff that the programs that Abba put in our DNA, or any creature's DNA, is amazing.
Well, they talk about, what do you call it? Sorry.
Blimps?
Huh?
No, keep going.
So they talk about how all these species and how they change, and evolution, that's the word I want to use. And it's like, but that happens in leaps and bounds. Otherwise, species wouldn't survive when there's a big change in the environment. So
I disagree with evolution.
DNA up. Yeah, he set it up so that the species, the main, would survive. And you can see it all over where animals change in leaps and bounds like that within 15 generations, if they're 3 years old.
Right. There was never a whale that became a raccoon.
Right. And that's not what I'm talking about either.
Right.
Not that type of
no, I know
from an ape. I'm sorry, but
I don't want to confuse people with the word evolution.
Right. Let's not talk like that, because
it's adaptation.
Exactly.
There we go.
Exactly. He set us up to adapt, and we have to be able, and we all have to be able to adapt pretty quickly at times,
Because climate change. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
The climate changes 4 times a year here.
Climate change, not my fault.
Actually, that's what Noah experienced, was like severe climate change.
Yeah.
But he adapted and survived.
Right, and that brought me to the verse that I like today, verse 14, and all the fountains of the deep were broken up. The windows of heaven opened, and the rain was on the earth. But all that shaking and the moving and everything going on before.
Have any of y'all seen any of the videos by Terry Eicher, Flat Out Truth?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Okay. And he makes a comparison of how the fountains of the deep, that basically these big craters that we're calling meteor craters, were the places where it had burst forth. And he shows examples like, videos taken of the geysers at Yellowstone and what they look like. And you can envision that being what burst forth from the deep. It's amazing.
Yep. Yeah. If anybody is not familiar with it, look up Dr.
Flat
Brown.
out truth.
Also look up Dr. Brown hydroplate theory. And everybody said this is the world's greatest theory until creationists said, "See, we told you it happened fast." And then all of a sudden it was, "He's a quack." Anyways, so I thought this was interesting. I guess it starts about 16 and goes up, but 21, they're begging to, all the men that gathered there are begging to get on the ark. And they tell Noah, "We are ready to return to the Lord. Only open for us that we may live and not die."
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, now they're ready to change their ways.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of reminded me of the high priest and crowd while Jesus was hanging on the cross. After all the miracles he had performed, after everything they had witnessed, saying, "If you save yourself now and bring yourself down from off the cross, then we'll believe you're the Messiah." And it's like they didn't believe when he raised people from the dead, when he healed people that had been crippled their whole lives, that healed people of leprosy. They didn't believe that. Why are they going to believe him? If he came down off the cross, they just find another reason to not believe him and not do what he was saying.
Mm-hmm.
Just like all those people would have, if they had made it through the flood, they would have said, "See, your God doesn't exist. How else did we live through the flood?" Anyways, I digress. Okay, what else do you all have?
So I always thought that everything that lived in the waters would live because it's water, but here it says that they died.
Yeah,
I think that was the genetically modified stuff that died.
Okay.
Well,
I would have to agree with you, maybe, but it sounds plausible.
Look at the fish fossils.
It's true. There are fish fossils all over.
And that's something else about the Dr. Brown's hydroplate theory, is that all the initial blast of pressure sending the waters from the deep up, creating all that mud and debris and stuff. Fish can't breathe mud.
Correct. And then
and sediment
that they would be all over the place, and then the waters would start drying up, and then they would die.
Right. And I mean,
so, okay.
Everywhere you look in the fossil record, it's not like they say, this long ago there were these animals, and this long ago there were these animals, and this long ago there were these animals. No, you got fish next to dinosaurs, next to elephants.
Yeah. We have clam shells in the desert.
Yeah. I can go to Mount Lemmon right here, which is almost 10,000 feet.
Yeah.
There's seashells up on top.
Yeah, the fish fossils.
Yeah. And people are like, well, that must be because people were eating clams here. And it's not like clam. They're not like clam shells. They're like certain types of other stuff. Abalone or something. It's a trip. And people will come up with any excuse. Well, and then you have the believers that say it wasn't a worldwide flood. It was just isolated into that little pocket where everybody lived. Now, really? Are you sure you believe? Trying to rationalize what we're told? Make excuses for God?
He does not lie.
He does not lie. Let every man be a liar.
Amen.
Yep. And that. Okay, what else for chapter 6 here? I thought this was interesting about the boat being rocked so hard that all the animals were terrified.
Well, yeah.
And
they're landlubbers. Don't you think they'd be terrified?
this is true. But I don't know. It's just something I never really put much thought to.
Well, when you got the water, okay, not just the rain from the clouds, but you've got these fountains that are bursting forth from the deep, shooting the water up. You've got then it talks about, I can't remember if it said it in this one, but the windows of heaven. It's not just the clouds, it's the windows. And if you look up that word in Hebrews in there, it describes sluices. Okay? So you've got these big torrent things coming down as well as things bursting forth. I mean, chaotic.
Well, I look at other cultures to see what they have to say. And the Native Americans say that the Milky Way is a seam that opened up where the water poured in for the Great Flood.
It's possible.
It's a scar.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Yeah, I think so. I believe it's possible. Well, what's going to happen when the sky rolls apart like a scroll?
Maybe that's the parting place.
I also look at it in the aspect of biblical cosmology, where there's water above, water below, and we're in this dry little terrarium.
So the windows are open above, the water's above, it's going to come crashing in.
And then, even recently, science said, golly, it appears that there's something like 5 to 7 times more water in the crust of the earth than there is in all the world's oceans combined. Well, how is that possible? Especially since the earth has just got a solid core of molten magma.
Right? Would it all boil away?
Liquid nickel and iron.
No.
What?
And they've proven that how?
Right?
Because science. Trust the science.
Because science.
It's
like maybe and perhaps and we think and
yeah. I never saw one experiment in school that demonstrated that this was a ball.
Didn't you have the styrofoam models of the solar system?
There was no experiment done or demonstration to prove out that theory.
Well, was it, I think it was Rob Skiba talking about going to the observatory and they had the pendulum, see, this pendulum proves that the earth is in motion. And then they said, well, what's that thing up at the top? They said, well, that's a motor. Well, what's the motor do? Well, the motor swings the pendulum. Well, why do you need a motor to swing the pendulum? Well, because the pendulum would stop if the motor went.
And honestly, okay, that right there is such a fallacy. Okay, logic's going to tell you if you're spinning, something's not going to go back and forth. It's going to go.
That's right.
It's going to be like a roulette wheel.
It's going to be like a merry-go-round, which they removed from the playgrounds because kids were figuring it out.
Well, have you ever seen? There's an ancient earthquake detector that the Chinese had made like 3,000 years ago. Ancient earthquake detector, and it was it's like a giant vase, and then around the edges of the vase it had dragons with balls in their mouth, and then beneath the dragons were frogs. And if there was an earthquake, in whatever direction the earthquake came from, those dragons would drop the balls out of their mouths into the frogs. And anyways, the earth was spinning. Wouldn't those balls always fly out? They would never be able to set them.
I'm
in that
surprised
particular-
I'm surprised we're clinging to the earth now. We're spinning so fast. I'm surprised we
I-
just don't fly off.
Okay, so how does that explain that means that every earthquake would come in the same direction unless that stupid dragon that's holding the balls in its mouth has a rotating head.
Well, no.
Okay.
The way it was. Oh, look, there it is. I can show a picture. Okay.
Exorcist dragons.
Yeah, well, the dragon.
Right.
Very symbolic.
Well,
Yes, you're right. Oh, and he's chewed it into his little mouth.
right.
Okay. All right, so it's multi-dragons.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. In that. And so whatever direction it was from the location of that machine, then those two balls would fall out, but not the other ones. So, but my point is, if it's spinning constantly, how would you be able to get those to balance?
You couldn't.
I don't know. Maybe. Either way, though, that's probably the train from Chicago. That, if you remember back to your math problems,
I hated those.
I don't know. I always got those wrong. Word problems were too.
It's because they throw in the train from Chicago.
I know.
If you have a train
The
from
train
New
part
York
always messed me up. It's like,
going
wait,
80 miles an hour and a train from Los Angeles going 100 miles an hour, and then there's a train from Chicago going 25, when do the trains from New York and Los Angeles meet? Has nothing to do with the train from Chicago.
I know.
Okay. Anyways,
Word problems.
let's go. Okay. Anything else for 6? I think we have. It says that they didn't get out of the ark until they were told to. Be fruitful and fill all the earth, become strong and increase abundantly in the earth, and multiply therein.
You know, there's an interesting study, if you do on the timing of that lines up with, okay,
With the feasts.
yes.
Yep.
Yes. You know, because like the first day that they were told to go out, you know, he was giving thanks and he set forth and start putting together the altar. And so then it was just like, you know, a couple of weeks later was what we call Shavuot or Pentecost. And that was also, you know, the time of the Rainbow Covenant about not flooding the world again. It's just really, really fascinating.
It is fascinating.
It is. I think it is.
Yeah, there's examples of that all over the place. On that timing, the timings of the feast and certain things happening. It's not telling you, but it's there if you look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we have the first list of genealogy post-flood in chapter 7.
Thank you, Jesus.
Is there anything that jumped out at you from that? Just other than they're increasing in wickedness and Nimrod. When you were kids, did you used to say, "Don't be a Nimrod"?
Yeah. There's a book called Nimrod, and he was a naughty little boy.
Never saw that one.
Okay, the thing that I brought up to you in my text yesterday, or
Okay.
night before, in chapter 7, about the garment.
Yes.
Thank you.
garment. Okay.
What verse is that?
This
24.
24.
Okay.
This is what I believe what happened when Noah passed out. That
Cush
Ham
snitched.
went and Ham went in and took the garment and left him naked. Okay.
Oh, hey.
Okay.
Mm-mm-mm.
And he took possession of that. And there is some speculation that that may be where the myth of the golden fleece came from.
Mm-hmm. That is, yeah. Well,
In the book of Jasher, this keeps popping up as well.
Mhm.
Look at that. How's that for a cliffhanger?
Yeah,
Everyone's like, huh?
it's an exciting book.
That. So yeah, this coat of skins, if you will, we're going to see it again.
Mhm.
And it's interesting that Nimrod gets them, because we're going to see Nimrod again
Oh, yes.
quite a bit later,
Yes.
a couple of chapters.
And in the future.
Yep. All right. So let's go to 8 then. Chapter 8. And now we have Abram, not Abraham. Abram. So we have him appear on scene. Yeah.
Which he was he was born in 1948 AM. How's that for synchronicity?
It means the clock's backwards.
No. Then there is no accidents. No coincidence. No coinky dink.
Dinkies.
So this, now what do you think about this whole telling of this? It's because it's just like kind of just stating it matter-of-factly. Terah went and substituted one of his servant's children that was a newborn.
It's
Said, okay, here's my new child. Here's my new baby boy.
right, but the whole story is reminiscent of Jesus.
That it's pointing towards Messiah, right? It's
Right.
pointing-
And also Moses.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now what? Well, I guess you could say kind of the same thing happened with Moses, and kind of the same thing happened with Jesus, Yeshua,
Mhm.
that they escaped, and other innocents, right? Slaughter of the innocents. Other innocents were killed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, do you think Terah gave the servant gold and silver? For
Probably.
I don't know.
He was the servant.
It's a brutal murder, also.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And isn't that what the king did with all the babies when Jesus was born? Or when Moses was, wait, wasn't that? So they did. They bashed him both those times. Didn't? Oh my goodness.
Well, they were told to kill him
Yeah.
in Egypt in the maidservants in that. And Herod sent his henchmen to kill anybody under 2 years old, any male child under 2 years old that had been born. They probably stuck them, though, I'm thinking. Run them through.
Okay. I gotta plug in.
Okay.
I'll go into the chat.
Alrighty. So let's see here. Okay, anything else for 9 or 8? I mean, it just kind of blows my mind, though. Okay, Master, here's my newborn son.
Mm-hmm. What? Well, 4, who will grow up and be fruitful and multiply and possess all the earth.
Yep. So Abram, his mother, and his nurse got to live in a cave for the next 10 years. Now, is this the same cave that he buried his wife in? No, it can't be because it's a different land. 'Tis a different land.
I find it interesting. They thought they'd killed Abram and they just went on and didn't even think twice about it. Almost like their mind was blinded to anything else.
Right. Okay, let's go to 9. And we have the birth of Sarai, not Sarah. So she's 10 years younger. And then we also have the birth of Lot, right? So there's Abram's nephew. So he's actually real close to the age of Abram, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Gee, what in the world? There we go. All right. Anyway.
I find it interesting. Sorry.
Verse
15.
Okay, what about it?
And so it seems to me that, because really, where would he know about God from? And so he was actually even seeking him before he even really knew him. And it's just like a lot of us, well, I won't say a lot of us, but some of us, we do the same thing. We look at, maybe this is God, or maybe that's God, but I just find it interesting that he didn't stop seeking.
Right. Well, I think most of us have gone through that process. Something similar, right? Who is God?
Mm-hmm.
Who made these mountains? Why are these things happening if he made them like that? We're just eventually, I believe we get to a point where we just trust him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He laid it out. He knew what he was doing.
Yep.
His judgments are righteous and true.
So we go from that child that's asking why about everything to just accepting that's how it is.
Yep. That you go from that child going, why? Why?
But why?
Why? To, my dad is so awesome. My dad can beat up your dad. But in this case, it's true.
True.
That my father will beat your father, the father of lies.
Right. Go give him the smackdown.
No, that's interesting, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Satan's the father of lies, and let every man be a liar,
Mm-hmm.
and God be true. So we get into, this is talking about the tower now.
Mm-hmm. Well, so Nimrod was a good guy before.
Is what?
Was he a good guy before? He puts on the skins and then he becomes really strong and
until he becomes disobedient. Yeah.
Okay.
Right? Because they're told to go forth and replenish the earth,
Mm-hmm.
make everything populated again. But he's building these cities and now building a tower so everybody stays all hunkered, stays in one spot. That's not
Right.
what they're supposed to do.
And they're so busy they don't have time to have family.
Right?
Mm.
Yep.
Mm.
Now, I find this interesting in verse 35 of chapter 9. Talking about, because there was 3 divisions of men
Mm-hmm.
that were going to make war in heaven. And the ones who said, we will ascend into heaven and serve our gods, became like apes and elephants. But then you look at I forget the proper term, but the list of gods in India.
Mm-hmm.
They have a god that has the head of an ape in the body of men, and they have one that has the head of an elephant in the body of men.
And so, so I'm thinking when I'm looking at this, so apes, might their descendants be like the Bigfoot and the Yeti and that type of thing, and maybe the elephants, or I know about the Darrow, and they're gross, and they have a big, and I'm wondering if that's like where those came from. I don't know.
I think that they are those gods that are worshipped in India now. Those people literally, they have their face changed to an ape face and face changed to an elephant head. The real elephant man, not some.
Right, because if we look at where some of these people went when they all got split up.
Yep.
Oh, where? Yeah. So there would be some among them that would be ape-like or elephant-like.
Maybe. And then would they be able to breed?
Oh, gross. Yeah, but right. Ooh.
Yep, I agree. That ancient technology of ancient India, flying vimanas. True story, GR.
True story.
Was talking with an Indian woman and trying to tell her about the ancient flying vimanas. Well, the word for airplane in modern Hindu is vimana. So I'm like, no, they had these ancient flying machines called airplanes. And they're called airplanes. And it's like, because I didn't understand at the time I was telling her about that vimana is still the word they use for any flying machine.
And down in Mexico, they had flying carpets. Well, what they call, who knows what those were, but.
I don't know. Is that why they never mind.
Let's skip that.
I'll skip that. Okay.
Oh, but I have a question. So verse 32, and God said to the 70 angels, so he's talking about, back there in Genesis, let us go down. Well, this is the us that he's talking about. But I find it interesting that there's 70 angels. Isn't there something about 70 wells somewhere in the Old Testament?
Right. Well, these are another 70. And I find it interesting. Come down and confuse their language. Now, that's a double witness to what it says in Genesis, the book of Genesis. Right? It says, come, let us go down and confound their language.
Right.
Both places it says their language. So, in my opinion, there's certain false teachers out there that say Hebrew is the original language of God. No, it isn't. Why does it say their language? It doesn't say, let us confound their ears so they don't understand our language. It says, let us confound their language.
Genesis 11:7.
Yeah. Interesting. The chapters are
Very,
almost coinciding.
very interesting.
Yep.
Because they don't know what language Abba speaks. Probably has his own unique language.
Now, in 38, this last clause right here, talking about the third of the Tower of Babel that's left over, that its circumference is a 3 days walk. There is a mountain in the Himalayas, or near the Himalayas, that they worship, and their pilgrimage is a 3-day walk around the base of it. And you can, I forget what the name of the documentary is, but used to be able to find it on YouTube. But I just thought that was pretty interesting.
That is interesting. Oh. I know what I'm going to be doing when I'm not sleeping.
Okay, let's go to chapter 10. And we got more Abram.
And this tells you where everybody went. They went to France, along the Danube, Italy. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, in that, let's see, I saw, what was it, what was it? It was almost like Romania. Forget. What verse was that, GR? Bartonia. Let's see, it was
9. Bartonia, I think, is Spain. No, sorry.
no, it was further down.
Okay, so
Let's see. I don't remember where though. Merkaba. Yeah. I think it was up around where they were talking about Italy. Italia.
the children of Chittim are the Roman who dwell in the valley Canopia by the river Tibreu.
Right.
Tibreu.
Roman, maybe that was it.
Yeah, Rome. Mm-hmm. Maybe.
I thought it was something else.
Better get the maps out.
Right. And that's one thing that's very handy, if you will, about the Sefer, that, yeah, and that in the Sefer, it uses the modern words for where they went, which is interesting. Yeah. Italia is Italy in Italian.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I have a girlfriend whose last name is Italia. She's Italian. All the way.
So it's her maiden name?
Yes. Well, I don't know if she kept her name when she got married or not, but yeah, it's so cool.
Okay. So anything else jumping out at us in chapter 10?
Yeah, verse 25.
Okay.
All 4 men from the family of Ham went to the land of the plain. These are the names of the 4 men: Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, and Zeboim. Those are all those that got destroyed.
Well, and these men built themselves cities in the land of the plain.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Huh. Yeah, we're going to see them come back up again. Anything else?
Not really.
Oh. Okay, so check it out. We'll be going through 11 through 15 next. When? I don't know. But at some point. Maybe next week, maybe Tuesday, maybe Thursday. If anybody wants to be a weekday reader, let me know. You know the email.
Mm-hmm.
So that. Anyways, okay. Thank you for reading, GR. Thank you for reading, Lynn.
Mhm.
Everybody have a beautiful day of rest. And, well, we'll talk to you later. Bye.